All right, time for a coffee break. Getting ready for week 1 action. The fun of the draft season is over, and now it's time for the work and the winning to begin. We're going to recap the last 2 12-team drafts that I had over the weekend. We're going to preview games with 2 things we're looking for in each game. And then 5 bets and 5 busts for this week. So let's get started.
Oh, I love it.
Go get him, boy.
I had 2 drafts this week. One was the one with Gordon Keith from Sports Radio 1310 The Ticket, which was super fun. I'm in their Discord, and I asked if we could just get a fantasy football chat going, and said, hey, let me ask Gordo, who doesn't really, he's not the biggest sports guy, he's more the bit guy, and also I think a genius. And the guy says, yeah, let me ask. And he goes, yeah, okay, he's in. I was like, oh, he's in. All right, let's do that. We held the draft over the weekend. It was really cool. I think Thursday night, Wednesday or Thursday. And then here were the results. So first, NFL.com gives you a grade. It gives me a B and says I'm going to finish 6 and 8.
Never trust nobody.
Projected finish of 8th. A B for me is beyond passing. A C is 7 and 7 makes the playoffs. A B is 8 and 6. And an A is anything more than 8 wins. But saying that I'm a projected 8th place. So we'll see about that. I think my lineup's actually pretty good. I'm strong in most positions, as we'll switch over and show you who I drafted. A little weak at tight end. That's one of the things in a 12-team draft. You get runs at certain positions. And so there was a run at tight end right before, and they grabbed all the guys I kind of wanted. So I just kind of punted on that. But first round pick, I was 8th, got Bijan. Feel really good about that. Pick 17, I went Marvin Harrison Jr. Probably could have gone Devontae Adams or something more solid or traditional, but I decided, let's have some fun. Let's get the rookie. And I feel like back half of the year, he's going to be very effective. Cooper Kupp, I think, is a steal as a wide receiver, too. I think he's going to be the wide receiver 1 for the Rams. It's one of the things we're going to look at in the Rams game. Devonta Smith, if he's playing the slot in a Kellen Moore offense, boom, boom, should be fantastic. Fantastic. Josh Jacobs as my RB2, pick 56. I think that's another steal.
Daddy, you're a crook.
I just think there was value here that's not really in other 12-team drafts. NFL.com's rankings were different than ESPN. They had Rashee Rice a lot lower, so I went ahead and grabbed Kyler Murray as my quarterback. Still waiting on tight end. At that point, the guys I was targeting had been picked. Trey McBride, Evan Ingram. So I was going to wait for Ferguson or Kyle Pitts, but then they were sniped later on. Rashee Rice, I think, is an absolute steal at pick 80 in 7th round.
I'll be taking that.
Went ahead and grabbed Jonathan Brooks, another late season. I think him mixed with Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to help me a lot. Late season push. Brian Robinson, I think, is a steal at 104. Khalil Shakir. And so because I punted, at the 11th round, I got Hawkinson, who I know is going to be out for a while. I went ahead and grabbed Bowers. I don't think he'll do great. I just think he'll do enough until I get Hawkinson back at full speed. My guy Chuba Hubbard, I got in the 13th round. Another difference between ESPN and with NFL.com. ESPN jumped Chuba Hubbard way up. So Dicker the kicker and the Falcons defense. So my team, I think, looks really strong. Projecting one of the higher point totals in the league. Rico Dowdle, I picked up off of waivers, because they gave us three IR spots. So I put Brooks and Hawkinson, picked up Keaton Mitchell to put in there too, and I grabbed Rico Dowdle. So overall, I actually think that's an A draft. I don't know where they're getting the B from and the 6 and 8 from, because I'm going to be favored in probably 10 of the 14 games this year, based on looking at other people's rosters before we get to injuries and all that. So I think I'm going to be fine making the playoffs, which is the first step to winning the league, is you got to make the playoffs, obviously.
Let's dominate today. All right, let's dominate today.
My second 12-team draft, not quite as many great players, but that's honestly where I feel like I thrive is on waiting in the draft and finding the value. This is a keeper league. Jerry had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Went CD first. Say what you want. It's a 3-season keeper league. I feel like McCaffrey and Lamb were the two obvious ones. 3 seasons from now, I don't see McCaffrey being as dominant as I see Lamb, who's in his prime, who's getting volume and touches. Obviously, if there's a coaching change, different quarterback next year, I understand that, but I just feel like it's a safer pick. And I think it's a more higher upside for the 3 years. Then you wait when you're at number 1 all the way to 24. So there's long gaps.
75 years later.
Impossible to get emotionally attached to players at this stage in the draft, but Derrick Henry, 2nd round, love that. I think he's going to be a touchdown machine. James Cook, I think, is going to get a lot of volume. Here, they bumped up Rashee Rice. I went ahead and took him at 48 and Trey McBride at 49. He's the tight end I was targeting. Go ahead and get your guys. Jordan Love at 72. Kyler had already been taken. Jordan Love was the last one I really liked. So I was the 10th person to pick a quarterback. Went ahead and got a guy who I think honestly has real top 5 potential with all the touchdown potential. Got Deontay Johnson again. Jonathan Brooks again was just sitting there. Javonte Williams was sitting there. I think Javonte is going to have a great season. So that's why I went ahead and picked Brooks back to back with Javonte. If I have Henry, Cook, and Williams, I'm okay waiting half a season for Jonathan Brooks. Now, if no other good running backs were there, or running backs I really liked were there, then I probably would not have taken Brooks there. Just a strategy thing. DeAndre Hopkins, I think he's going to smash after like 3 or 4 weeks once they get used to the new offense. Shakir, I went ahead and reached a little on him because I thought for sure he was going to take him. But then Curtis Samuel's waiting for me at 144 and Josh Palmer at 145. So I don't necessarily like having a lot of the same team. So I have 3 Bills. But man, someone's going to catch the ball in Buffalo, and it's going to be the number 1 receiver is going to be Khalil Shakir or Curtis Samuel. I don't think it's going to be Keon Coleman. And same thing with Josh Palmer. I really think he'll be the wide receiver 1. If he's not, it's a 13th rounder. Grabbed Rico Dowdle, Seahawks defense, and Young Goku. Overall, I'm going to be favored in almost every game. I have the highest point projection in week 1, and only 2 other guys are the same, like 126, 127.
Nailed it.
So I'm not sure where they're getting 7th place. Are they assuming my guys are going to get hurt? I don't know. But overall, feel really comfortable, really strongly about that draft. Rashee Rice was a guy I think is going to be a huge value this year. A top 20 guy for sure in my mind. And especially with Xavier Worthy taking the top off the defense, I think it's going to open up more holes for him over the middle. Travis Kelce getting a year older. Going to probably play him a little less. I think he's a smash hit. All right, let's now preview some games. This is my 1 or 2 things I'm looking for in each game. Let's start with the Thursday game, Baltimore versus Kansas City. The 2 things I'm looking at for Baltimore. How will Derrick Henry look? Is he going to be the focal point of the offense? Or is it going to be running him the same way they ran Gus Edwards? For Kansas City, how will this new look Chiefs offense affect things? Like they really were dink and dunk more or less the last couple of years. And it worked. Titles back to back. They seem like they've got the guys to really push the ball this season. So we'll see about that. The Friday game, Green Bay, Philly. Which is the real Green Bay team? Is it the team that finished the year super hot and could have, had the 49ers on the ropes? Should and could, of course. For the Eagles, how will the offense look under Kellen Moore? These are big questions. Big things I'm looking for. Arizona versus Buffalo. How Marvin Harrison debut. We're going to look for that pretty strongly. And who catches the ball for Buffalo? We're going to find out who that wide receiver 1 is. So that's pretty exciting. A couple things I'm looking for in the New England-Cincinnati game. New England's quarterback. They went ahead and started Jacoby Brissett, even though it looked like Drake May was better. How is Jacoby Brissett going to play? Is he going to keep the job for long? And then, of course, we're looking for Jamar Chase, who's been holding out, holding in. How's this Bengals offense? They've started slow the last couple of years for the first 4 games. Are they going to start strong this time? The Giants versus the Vikings. And I'm watching Daniel Jones. Is he the guy from 2 years ago that made the playoffs that Brian Daboll made some miracles on? Or is he the guy we saw last year who just was awful? And then, of course, Minnesota, Sam Darnold. Let's look at him. They're going to try to run the ball to help support him, but can he get the ball to Justin Jefferson? That's really the only question. Chicago, Tennessee is a game I'm really looking forward to because they both have new offenses, completely different systems than last year. How will Caleb Williams handle his first game? The Titans are going to be throwing the ball a lot, which is a big change from the Derrick Henry years. How is that going to look with Will Levis? Probably a slow start would be my guess. Carolina versus New Orleans. Bryce Young. You've got Dave Canales, who's supporting him in every way possible. Like they got receivers in Deontay Johnson. They upgraded the offensive line. They drafted a running back. Obviously, he's hurt. But they're trying to get the ecosystem around him. He was good last year targeting Adam Thielen. Look for him targeting Deontay Johnson this year to be really strong. How will the Saints look with their new offense? This is something I'm looking for too. Is Derek Carr done? Is he just going to dink and dunk, or is it going to be more of a dynamic offense? Things I'm looking at in the Pittsburgh-Atlanta game. Are we going to get more of the same with Pittsburgh? Is this going to be Mike Tomlin's last year? Just more middle-of-the-road mediocrity? And then with Atlanta, how's this new offense going to look? Who gets the ball? Is this going to be the Kyle Pitts show? Is this going to be the Drake London show? Is this going to be the Bijan show? I kind of think it's the Bijan show, but when you pay Kirk Cousins that kind of money, he's going to want to throw it. Jacksonville versus Miami. How do these teams react? They both had a late season swoon. So we're going to see who gets off to the hot start. Is Trevor Lawrence the same guy, the generational talent we thought he was? Or is he the guy who's turning the ball over left and right? And of course, with Miami and fantasy, one thing we're looking at is how are they going to use Devon Achane? Everyone's healthy now. And they've had a whole offseason to play. And we saw some things with him in the slot in the preseason. Is this going to be still 10, 12 touches a game? Or are they going to give him that 15 to 17? Because that's the difference between being, a running back 2 who's going to give you some spike weeks, running back 2, 3, or being like the running back number 1, number 2. He's dynamic. It's exciting to watch. Houston and Indy. This is a early season matchup between two of the favorites in this division. The thing I'm looking for in Houston is who is the wide receiver 1? Who's going to get the looks? Is it going to be Nico? Is it going to be Tank Dell? Is it going to be Stephon Diggs? Everyone had to plant their flag as to who to draft. My flag was planted on Tank Dell. Thought he was going to be the best value. I feel like Nico spikes up and down. Steph, I think, is probably going to implode by the season. Who knows? My flag was planted on Tank Dell. We'll see who's right. And then, of course, how will Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor, how do they interact? Who's running the ball in near the goal line? Who's getting those touches? Las Vegas and Los Angeles Chargers or Clippers. Man, run. This is going to be a ground and pound kind of game. What I'm looking for is Josh Palmer going to be the wide receiver? Ladd McConkey? It can't be Quentin Johnson. But who is going to be this receiver, this wide receiver 1 for Los Angeles? Big questions. I put my flag down on Josh Palmer. For the Raiders, we're going to see if the Zamir White show continues. Can he do it? He did it for 4 games, and now we're asking, can he do it for a whole season? Well, let's start off with 1 game. If he gets 20 plus touches this game, I think we're well on our way. I don't know if you'll ever get a song stuck in your head, but I have Love You Like a Love Song by Selena Gomez in my head. Denver versus Seattle, the Bo Nix experience. I'm looking here. Is he checking down a lot to Devontae Williams? Because, man, I hope so. I put some bets on that. And then the new offensive scheme for Seattle. Who is the wide receiver 1? Who's going to be the big dog? How is it going to look? Can Geno work with this? Because we have a lot of new offenses, and it usually takes a little bit of time. Look at the Cowboys last year. Took them 6 weeks to get it rolling. Do you have the patience to wait for DK Metcalf to get rolling, for Devontae Smith, AJ Brown to get rolling under new offenses? Tampa Bay versus Washington. Things I'm looking at here. Jaden Daniels' debut. We've been talking all offseason about the potential for Jaden Daniels. Here's his chance. Let's see how he looks. The thing we're looking at for Tampa Bay, does Rachaad White get all the carries and get the volume he got last year? Or with a new offensive coordinator, does it start to siphon off? Because he was not particularly effective. Not sure why I said that we're particularly like that. That brings us to the Rams and the Lions. Another fantastic game. The week 1 scheduling was phenomenal this year. So with the Rams, here's what we're looking for. Who is the wide receiver 1? Is it going to be Puka? Is it going to be Kupp? Are they going to be close? Or is it going to be 1A, 1B? Because if it's 1A, 1B, man, Cooper Kupp is a steal. If it's a clear 1, then Nakua might be the one to grab. Then Nakua might... If it's a clear 1 for Nakua and 2 for Kupp, then everyone drafted just fine. And I think this is the start of a special year for Detroit. They're my Super Bowl pick. just weird to say out loud. They are just ready to win. The thing I'm looking at here, not just the volume for Amon-Ra St. Brown. We know he's going to get his. Well, I'm looking for Jameson Williams because this is year 3 and he has yet to really establish himself. There's no one else. There's Amon-Ra and Laporta, Gibbs. And so he's really the 4th catcher, but he's the deep ball threat. And I know Goff is more of a safe quarterback, but can he establish himself as a threat, as a fantasy asset? Then the Monday night game, the Jets versus San Francisco. I think it's pretty obvious what we're looking for here for the Jets. It's Aaron Rodgers' debut.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone?
Part 2. Can he get more than 4 plays? Maybe 5, maybe 6. And then obviously, what's the offense going to look like with him under center? Because it could not have been worse under Zach Wilson. That was garbage. With the 49ers, no Trent Williams, it looks like. And Brandon Ayuk just getting back in. I do not see this as a good game for the 49ers. I think they're going to get curb stomped. I think the Jets are going to come out strong. I think if Rodgers is 80% of what he has been in the past, this is going to be a game 28-10 type of thing. Because no Trent Williams, you see the splits on him when he's been out. McCaffrey, he's been out. Brock Purdy. I mean, if you have a generational talent on your offensive line who's out, like in fantasy, we don't take into account how important that offensive line is. And this guy is the guy. So there's my recap. Things to look for, the big ones for each team and for each game.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
I'm excited. Let me give you 5 bets to beat their projections and 5 busts who will miss their projections. At quarterback, my bet to beat their projection is Jordan Love. He's projecting in the 18 to 19 range, depending on the website. I'm going to go ahead and use ESPN rankings just because I think that makes my life easier to have just one. On ESPN, Jordan Love is projected to have 18.4 points against Philadelphia. Now, typically in the London games, it's a lot harder in the London games just because you have time zone change, etc. Well, this is the same basic time zone. It's just a longer flight to go to Brazil. So I like him to perform pretty normal. And normal from week 9 onward was, 20 points, 26, 23, 8, 17, 23, 28, 18. So I really think he's going to smash. I think the defense for the Eagles was exposed last year. And I think he is going to smash this projection. I think he's over 20. Oh, shizzle. For running back, one bet that I have here to beat their projection is none other than the King, Derrick Henry. On Thursday, when the Chiefs and the Ravens play, the Ravens are angry. They feel like they got unlucky last game against the Chiefs to lose 17-10, fumbles in the end zone, bad turnovers. And then the Chiefs, of course, then were milking the clock, running the ball. I think this is going to be a much higher scoring affair, 27-24, that type of one, 31-27. In that range. I think Henry's going to score. So his 14.8 projection, I think he's going to smash that. Let me bet on Derrick Henry to beat projection. Wide receivers. I'm going to give you 2 wide receivers as my 5 bets. Continue. First one is Cooper Kupp. Like I said, the big question is who establishes themselves as the number 1. Well, I think Cooper Kupp establishes himself as the number 1 in this offense. He is projected at 14.8 points. I mean, I think even without scoring, I think he could easily push for 20 the way he'd been playing the last few years. Detroit's secondary still has question marks. It's going to be a higher scoring game, especially without Aaron Donald, meaning Detroit's going to score more, meaning Los Angeles is going to have to throw the ball more. It sets up beautifully. Now, my last bet at receiver is Devontae Smith. I think he's playing the slot for Kellen Moore, which has always been a highly productive spot. He's projected at 14.5 points. The Green Bay secondary is nothing to write home about. And especially if the Packers are scoring a lot, Kellen Moore offenses have always led the league in scoring or been near the top. So give me him to beat that 14.5 projection. And at tight end, give me Trey McBride. Because I love him, yes, because he's on a couple of my teams. But give me him to beat that projection at 12.5. Defenses I like, couple bonus. I like Seattle. And I like Chicago. Seattle is actually one of the top ranked defenses here, playing Denver. Bo Nix quarterback, maybe some turnovers, and then Will Levis at quarterback, playing against the Bears. should be pretty good there. So those are my 5 bets. 5 busts. 5 people I think will not beat their projection. CJ Stroud, 19.2 projection for a guy who doesn't run, meaning he has to throw for 3 touchdowns. I just don't see that. I see this as a running game for Indianapolis, burning the clock, shrinking those possessions down. Saquon Barkley, I think he'll bust because of the tush push and because he's not going to catch the ball out of the backfield. Jalen Hurts does not throw it to the running backs. 2 busts at wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk and Jamar Chase, the holdouts. The Bengals have started slow the last couple years. Chase last year, to start off the year, started with 8 points, 9 points for his first 2 games. Not great. He's playing a bad defense, so I realize this is a bet, or this is a bold prediction, but I kind of just think they're going to run away with it and milk the clock. Brandon Ayuk, I think he's just getting into the offense, so I don't think they're going to use him very much. And it's a good defense in the Jets, which also brings me my tight end bust, George Kittle. No Trent Williams means no time to pass, means they're going to have to bring in extra blockers. One of those is great. One of the great blockers in the league is George Kittle. So his 11-point projection is a bust for me. Obviously, if he gets in the end zone, he might save it, but you're asking a lot. And then a bust on defense, the Cleveland Browns projecting at 6 points. Dallas led the league in scoring. Dak doesn't really turn the ball over that much, except in playoff games, RIP, and rest in playoffs. And so the Browns, 6.4 points. I mean, you got Myles Garrett, so you might get a sack or 2, but I also think this is going to be it might be a little higher scoring than that to get 6.2 points out of. That's my week 1 preview. Those are 5 bets, 5 busts. And good luck, everyone. Let's go get the first dub of the season.